Hello and welcome to the Seer 365 sessions. These sessions are designed for us to be able to learn from each other, something that I'm very passionate about. And today we're going to have a topic that I think will be very interesting to most, if not all, partners, and that is support. So what I've done is I've asked Craig from the Mint Group to come with me to share his experience around support and how support is changing for customers around the world. So, Craig, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, pleasure, Rich. Thanks for having me.
So there might be a bit of delay. Craig's coming all the way from beautiful South Africa, and I think we're running out of carrier pigeons or something. But it might be my side, you never know. But bear with us. The sound is pretty good though, so we should be all good. So
We'll push through.
So, Craig, why don't you start by introducing yourself and a little bit about Mint and what you do at Mint?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. As already mentioned, introduced, my name is Craig Garrett. I work for the Mint Group down in South Africa. We've got a number of branches across the globe, the US, the UK, touching into the UAE, as well as Africa, and then Australia. The part of the business that I'm heavily involved in is a business unit called Enhancement, which most of you will probably realize in terms of what it does is the traditional old support model, and we've just turned it on its head and added a number of features, as well as a different type of structure and strategy to what it can do to help our customers moving forward.
I don't want to let that one slide. You do refer to it internally at Mint as Enhanced Mint, which is one of the better puns I've heard for a while. So I just want to make sure everybody catches the Enhanced Mint bit, which I think is awesome. So let's start then, Craig, with the old model. Let's start with where we were, and then we'll kind of move on to where we're going. So, why don't you explain what you mean by traditional support?
Yeah. So look, I mean, the challenge we face obviously is, as you're all aware, in certainly in this industry. I mean, the pace at which it moves is something that is keeps us on our toes every day. So making sure that we keep up with the fast environment, working the pace at which the world changes. So, if we look at the traditional side of support, it was very much a reactive part of the business, and dealt with only that sort of aspect. So you would obviously either complete a project or acquire a customer that required what we now call traditional support and refer to as traditional support, and there would obviously be a form of answering some tickets or allocating tickets that you'd answer those tickets, and that's kind of where the buck would stop. So it was a case of looking at that particular process and going, our initial thought process was, well, we've kind of opened the door, got our foot just in the door to open a relationship with the potential customer, and then all we do is react to them. There's nothing else that kind of transpires from that, and that kind of was the challenge that we faced, obviously at a very high level from a sort of South African point of view. I think across the more mature countries, the step has been taken a bit further, and there were obviously additional services and methodologies offered in that particular process. But still, it stopped at a certain point in terms of, as a customer, you have to go and find those services within that particular the group. So we've looked at it from a completely different point of view and gone, what if we change the environment and created a whole holistic approach, both internally as well as externally, in terms of creating a business unit that is inspiring to staff. So it's not just somebody that may be a potential ERP consultant and just answers tickets, because that has no value to that particular individual. How does that individual grow? How does that individual utilize their skill set? If they're a finance person, if they're a a Power BI specialist, if they're a manufacturing specialist, whatever the case may be. And then how do we create a process where we can actually create more of a strategic methodology with that particular customer and start what we then obviously developed as enhancing that customer, as opposed to just reacting to support tickets from users on a daily basis.
So it's kind of moving that away from kind of reactive, keeping the lights on support, to more business focused.
Absolutely.
Helping the customer achieve goals.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had to look at it from a it would start. There must be a starting point in terms of opening the door from a guidance and a help point of view. But then, where do we take it from there? Where do we and how do we build the relationship, and what do we offer in order to create literally, the true concept of the word, a true partner that understands your business, understands your systems, understands your processes, and then not only does the unit then help users on a daily basis, but what else can we do to help you either achieve a strategic, an IT strategy or a digital strategy or whatever the business strategy may be? What else can we do and build that on that relationship in order to enhance a particular business over a much longer period of time? We're looking at a 5 to 10 year relationship building process where we can actually enhance that business, not just support them.
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but if I go back to when I started in Dynamics, which is sort of coming up to 20 years ago now, you would implement a system for a customer. It would take a long time, but the system was pretty much set in stone at that point. You would do an upgrade every 4 or 5 years, maybe, right? And it was just very stable. Whereas now, because of the cloud and the way that Microsoft release enhancements to Dynamics, that's obviously one element where there's constantly, out twice a year, more functionality coming into the product that they can take advantage of. But also the wider cloud environment. I know you do Microsoft 365 and Azure at Mint as well. So being able to add that capability into it as you go as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it's not just on the ERP side from an Azure point of view. There's also the CRM side of things, and I think if you look at just Microsoft alone in terms of how aggressive they are in the marketplace in terms of increasing the capability of everything that they do, trying to keep on top of that is it can be quite a big challenge alone. If you look at some of the sizes of some of the businesses we look after, so it's being able to continuously make sure that it's not necessarily just the update and making sure everything is in line with Microsoft, but does the updates and the changes in the Microsoft ecosystem actually work within the change or the process that organization has. So somebody's got to look at that and go, when we do the update or there is a change, have we actually tested that your process that you have internally are going to carry on working with the various different upgrades or updates there are? So there are a whole lot of facets that go into this from a services point of view. We've kind of broken it into 4 main kind of services from moving away from old traditional support into the enhancement group. So we've got what we call core enhancement. We've got essential enhancement. We have what we then call premium enhancement, and then we have the enhancement update services, which is linked to what you've just mentioned.
Yeah. So, and what seems to be the from the customer perspective, what seems to be the most valuable thing that they're finding that they're pushing you to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think in doing the research across the different markets in terms of some of the challenges that we found with traditional support was in some of the, I'm going to say, less mature countries, it was very much traditional support sort of had an ugly duckling sort of label to it. The perception of it was, it's more of a grudge purchase than something I generally want. So, I know I need it, but I don't really want it. And am I getting true value out of the process that I'm purchasing? And 9 times out of 10, the answer was no. Was there enough transparency in terms of what I was buying and what service delivery was being offered to me? And I think in the more mature markets, it was more of a case of, it's either when a project finishes, I get handed over to back then a support team that doesn't really have intimate knowledge of what has been implemented, my system, and understanding that. So I've got to kind of start that whole process over. And then there wasn't any true relationship building in terms of you supporting me from a day-to-day basis in terms of my users learning how to use the software. But when we get to the next phase of who is going to drive my users to become upskilled in the system, and then what else can we focus on to improve our business, whether it be, can you drive automation because you understand intimately what we have as an organization, what our processes are. What can you do from a reporting point of view? How can you align the services you have as a group through your enhancement unit in terms of what we're trying to achieve as an overall strategy? And if you have a look at the sort of general consensus, organizations don't want to necessarily have 18 different vendors all doing different things in terms of the services they provide. So the idea here is that we build a relationship through the initial phase of running a ticketing system and managing your day-to-day environment and the users using the software. And then as we go through that process, we learn and develop an understanding of what your business is all about. What are your processes, what you're trying to achieve, what your shortcomings are. And then we can obviously come back and make suggestions based on the feedback we get from the staff on the ground, as well as what we're learning as we get to know the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like using the term trusted advisor because it's overused and it's lost all meaning, really. But that is kind of what you're doing. It's another set of eyes on them as a business to say, look, through our conversations, through our interactions, through our knowledge of what you do, this seems to be an area that you need additional help with, or are looking to expand in, or have got resource constraints around something, and this is how we could help. It sounds much more valuable than that traditional model.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think there are areas that add a huge amount of value. I mean, first of all, we obviously get to know the customer really, really well. We have a number of different processes in place to build that relationship. So it's kind of the supporting role, as well as strategic account management, as well as you're kind of a bigger brother overlooking the business and looking at it and going, guys, you know what? For example, at month end, the way you're processing your invoices is taking you, let's just say, 5 days. If you were to do it this way, based on what we know you're trying to achieve, we could reduce that time by 2 days, for example. So it's not just the reactive side. It's actually looking at the business as a whole. But the starting point is, let us first open the door. Let us first show you from a reactive point of view and a ticketing system point of view on the essential enhancement what we can do. Let's build the relationship. Let's show you through the tools that we have, as well as the customer portal we have. Let's build some trust, so you've got the visibility on a daily basis of what is transpiring in terms of what you purchased, so you can actually see validate what you're getting. And then let's have a look thereafter in terms of what we as a group have. So in terms of what Mint is, what can we offer you in order to help your business? And that's essentially what it boils down to. If you look at our sort of our vision statement, or what I kind of talk about with our team is, what is our why? Why do we get up every day? And it's not to react to tickets. The whole purpose of this particular process and the whole purpose of this business unit is to spend the time and the energy and the effort to increase the skill level, the quality level of the users, to a point that they actually spend all their time utilizing or improving their role aligned with the business strategy. And we spend most of our time not resolving tickets, but genuinely enhancing that business, whether it be aligned to an IT strategy or whether it be aligned to a business strategy or a digital roadmap. That's the purpose of it all.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense to me because coming back to a comment you made a while ago about almost being seen as a necessary evil. This is a much different, more valuable service you're offering, and I would imagine you're able to show the value at higher price points as well, and especially at the moment with partners are looking to uh, looking to grow and increase their revenue. I do think this area of the business is one that potentially could be untapped for many partners.
Yeah, and I go back to what I said earlier. I mean, the general consensus is, across the markets that we're dealing in, is that organizations prefer now to have fewer vendors that they have a cross skill set. So if you look at Mint in terms of ERP, CRM, Power Apps, the Azure setup, security. We cover a huge area of the IT sort of setup. So combining those skill sets across a big team that can then obviously then utilize that per customer, and then get to know that customer intimately and then make suggestions. And whether they take it or not is entirely up to them. But we can offer so much more than just reacting to a ticket. So it's just a starting point to go, once we get to that point where we reduce the number of tickets, and there will always be tickets because there's new users coming on board, but we can put processes in place so that user gets up to speed in terms of what they do much faster. And then it's a case of how can we strategically manage all our services, offer them to you in the right areas of your organization to, here's your favorite word, enhance your business going forward. And that's going to continue because the business evolves, the market's evolving, and the Microsoft product set is evolving. So, one of the challenges we picked up going through this particular process was that historically, a lot of the software applications and the way that we've implemented those software applications has been, Mr. Customer, you require, let's say, an ERP. We implement that, and then the business has to kind of, almost to a certain extent, change their processes to adapt to the software. What we're trying to go through now from a process point of view is the software has a framework. What are your business processes, number one? What is your best practice from a business process? And let's try and adjust as much of the software, because there's a lot of feature and functionality that we don't utilize. How do we adapt that into your business? Because we now get to know your business and really get to intimately understand it. I mean, the fact that we try and implement different softwares in massive organizations, expecting that we understand how that business works, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Whereas in this particular process, through enhancement, we're fortunate to have the time through the essential enhancement, answer those tickets, see what the problems are, unpack the challenges, understand the processes, and then advise accordingly based on the services we offer.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea and a great service. And it's adapted to the modern way that customers want to work with their suppliers, as you said. So very cool indeed.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up to time. So I just want to thank you, Craig, for spending some time with us today to walk through what you've been doing at Mint with, and I'll say it one more time, Enhance Mint. I think is a great idea that I'm sure will be very successful, very popular with customers, delivering an experience they haven't had before. So I wish you all the best with it. If anybody wants to get in contact with Mint, I've put the URL for the South African group up there. It's uk.mintgroup.net for the UK team, etc. But go on to it, have a look around. I've known the Mint guys for a long time, and they're always open to partnership and sharing knowledge and stuff. So feel free to get in touch with them. So, Craig, thank you very much
Cool.
again. And to all of you that have been joining us today, thank you very much for spending some time with us. I hope you found it as interesting as I did. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it.